kata kelompok berapa hari ini? Which group that will present for today?
For today, group number 6 and number 7, Miss.
How many groups that we have for this class?
Uh,
6 or 7?
7.
7. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, please, for the next group. So we have the second group of the sixth group. Who will gonna be the first? Yang kedua atau yang keenam? Grupnya? Ada
Miss,
grup 2,
bentar ya.
grup 6. Grup 2, grup 6 ada di sini.
Iya, Miss. Boleh minta waktunya sebentar untuk share screen?
Oke, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Michelle and everyone. So we are from Group 6, and today we will presenting a topic titled Leadership and Best Practice for Maximizing Productivity in Virtual and Face-to-Face Meetings. This topic is about how leaders can make both virtual and in-person meetings more productive, focused, and effective. We all know that meetings are part of our daily academic or organizational activities, but sometimes they don't always run efficiently. That's why understanding leadership strategies and meeting management is important, especially in today's hybrid environment. Okay, before we start, let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Naila Zulfarianto.
My name is Lidido Stiarini.
My name is Kayla Felicia Hasana.
My name is Zarani Salawa.
And my name is Gita Artanti. So next, this is what we will talk about. Next. So the first is, what is leadership? Leadership is the ability to guide and help others work toward the same goal. It is not just about giving orders, but about working together, listening, and encouraging people to do their best. Leadership also means being flexible and solving problems as a team. Leadership also involves influencing, guiding, and aligning others toward a common goal or shared vision, while building commitment and collaboration. A good leader communicates clearly, takes the responsibility, and respects others. So, leadership is not only about having the ability to lead, but also about applying that ability effectively in the process of working together with others to achieve the success. Next. Next is the relationship between leadership and virtual or face-to-face meetings. Leadership is important in both virtual or face-to-face meetings because it shapes how teams communicate, collaborate, and achieve goals. The relationship between these two types of meetings depends on how leaders adapt their communication, influence, and management style to different environments. Like in virtual meetings, leaders relies on clear communication, structure, and digital engagement to keep the team connected. In virtual meetings, leaders need to speak clearly, use a good plans, and work with online tools. The leaders must keep everyone interested, help people or members join the discussion, and make sure all the team members feel included even when they are far away. Next, in face-to-face meetings, leaders build trust through direct interaction, body language, and quick feedback. In these face-to-face meetings, leaders can use body language, eye contact, and voice tone to build trust and good relationship. They can see people's reaction directly and give feedback right away. This helps create better understanding, stronger teamwork, and closer communication between the leader and the team. So, good leaders know how to adjust their style to each situation, whether in virtual or face to face. And strong leadership helps the team to stay focused, work together, and reach their goals. So, for the next is can be explained by my friend Rani.
Okay, the next slide is meeting practice. Meeting practice is an activity or simulation exercise of holding a meeting for learning or training purpose. It is usually done in school, college, or organization, so that participants can understand. The first meeting steps. In a meeting, there are some basic steps: opening, reading the agenda, discussing the topics, and closing. This step help the meeting run in the order and smoothly. The second, role in a meeting: leader, secretary, or note taker, and members. Each person has a role in a meeting. The leader guides the meeting and help make decisions. The secretary or note taker prepare and write down what is discussion. The member give their idea and opinions during the meeting. The next slide. The third, meeting manners: how to give opinion, disagree, or agree politically. Good manners are very important in a meeting. Everyone should respect others' opinions, speak clearly and politically, and argue in an emotional or off-topic way. The last, reading the meeting rules, minutes or report. At the end of the meeting, the secretary writers a report or meeting notes. This report include what was discussed and decided, so everyone remember what to do next. So, meeting practice is basically a real simulation of how a meeting runs, used to train communication, teamwork, and
So right now I want to explain about face-to-face and virtual meetings. Face-to-face, being physically together allows features non-verbal communication, body language, eye contact, gestures, which help clarity and mutual understanding. In-person meetings train to foster stronger relationships, trust, and team cohesion. For example, one survey found 79% of people said in-person meetings were more effective than virtual for team building. There is evidence that in-person teams generate more ideas. A study found pairs that worked face-to-face generated 15 to 28% more ideas than those working via Zoom. Less temptation to multitask or be distracted. Since you're in the same physical room, less device distracted. Disadvantage: cost and logistics, travel, venue, time and accommodation. Less flexibility for geographically dispersed participants. Scheduling may be harder, especially when people are remote or global. Best used when building new relationships, trust, team offsites, brainstorming, and complex negotiations. Virtual meetings. Advantage: much more flexible. Participants can join from anywhere. Less travel or time costs. Good for routine updates, status checks, quick check-ins. Can be efficient, fewer informal side talks, more structured agenda in many cases. Disadvantage: more easy to get distracted or multitask. Technical issues: connectivity, audio or video quality can disrupt flow. Engagement and creative output may be lower. Research shows virtual teams generated fewer ideas and less diverse ones. Best used when participants are in different locations and cannot convene easily in person. The meeting is more informational, routine, or update-oriented rather than deep collaboration. So next part will be explaining by my friend.
Okay, I want comparison of face-to-face meetings and online meetings. Face-to-face meetings have an advantage in nonverbal communication, such as facial expression and body language, which are very important for build, uh, uh, for building a deep understanding between participants. Face-to-face meetings also increase participant engagement, which can help solve problems more effectively. However, face-to-face meetings also have disadvantages such as higher costs for travel and facilities, as well as a lack of direct interaction with other people. On the other hand, online meetings are more flexible because participants do not need to be physically present and can attend meetings from anywhere. This also makes meetings cheaper because there is no need to spend money on travel or room rental. However, only online meetings are highly dependent on technology, which can experience disruption such as internet connection and are less effective at capturing nonverbal communication such as body language and facial expression, which can reduce the quality of interaction. Additionally, participants sometimes find it difficult to concentrate due to various distraction, which can reduce concentration during meetings. The next slide will be explained by my friend Naila. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to talk about meetings, specifically the challenge we face and the solution we can apply in two different formats, in face-to-face meetings and virtual meetings. By understanding both, we can run our meetings more effectively, whether we're in one room together or connecting remotely. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, the first one, I want to explain the challenge and solution in face-to-face meetings. The first one is misunderstanding from nonverbal cues. It means that although we are physically present, sometimes body language, gestures, or eye contact are misread or ignored. And the second one is dominant speakers reduce input. It means that who takes over the discussion can reduce input from others, which limits the richness of ideas. And the third one is time and scheduling issues. Is getting everyone together physically can be challenging because of calendar conflicts, travel time, or simply finding a room. And the fourth one is side talks or lack of focus. Sorry. In a physical meeting room, people may drift off topics, engage in side conversation, or lose focus, which reduce overall productivity. And the last one is no proper follow-up. Even after a good meeting, if there are no clear minutes or assigned tasks, the discussion may fade and nothing gets done. Okay, to face the challenge, I have some solution that may be helped. The first one is encourage equal participant. We can make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak and invite quieter members to share their thought. And the second one is listen actively and respect turns. That means that giving the speaker our full attention, not interrupting, and acknowledging their input. And the third one is start and finish on time. We have to respecting time shows and professionalism and keeps people engaged. And the fourth one is use visual to maintain focus. The example is like an agenda, slides, whiteboard, or visual cues help everyone stay on track and see the structure of the meeting. And the last one is we can also record minutes and assign tasks. At the end of the meeting, summarize what was decided, who does what, and by when, then follow up. And okay, I want to explain the challenge and solution in virtual meetings. The first one is connection or audio problems. Since we rely on technology and internet, Issue with connectivity is sound echo or video lag can disrupt the meeting. And the second one is low engagement and multitasking. Like when people are remote, they may be tempted to check email, do other work, or just passively attend rather than actively participate. And the third one is hard to read emotion. When we are on the screen, nonverbal cues are limited. It's harder to tell mood, attention, or confusion, which can lead to misunderstanding. And then the fourth one is misunderstood messages. Without full focal tone or body language, our words may be interpreted differently than intended. And then the last one is weak accountability. Because people are remote, it may be easier to drift out of focus and follow up may be weaker. And then to face the challenge, I have some solution that may be help. The first one is we always have to test tools and prepare backups. Before the meeting, we can check audio, video, and connectivity and have a plan B in case of something fails. And then the second one is use polls or breakout rooms. These interactive tools can help our engaged participant break up the monotony and encourage active contribution. And then the third one is keep meetings short and focused. Virtual features is real, so we can keeping the meeting concise with a clear agenda and time box help maintain attention. And then the fourth one is we always have to speak clearly and repeat key points. Because some cues are missing, you can make your message explicit, summarize, and repeat the essentials so everyone is on the same page. And then the last one, we can summarize tasks and share notes. After the meeting, send the minutes, assign tasks with deadlines, and keep participants accountable. And then, okay, so the point is whether we are meeting in person or virtually, we can get a good communication and clear structure are key. Face-to-face meetings give richer interaction, but also need strong facilitation. While virtual meetings offer flexibility but require more deliberate engagement and follow-up. By applying this solution, we can make our meetings more productive, inclusive, and action-oriented. Okay, I think that's all for me. The next part will be explained by my friend Lydia.
And last but not least, patient leadership plays a crucial role in determining the success of both face-to-face and virtual meetings. In face-to-face meetings, effectiveness often comes from direct interaction, nonverbal communication, and emotional connection among participants. Meanwhile, in virtual meetings, success depends heavily on the leader's ability to manage technology, maintain engagement, and ensure clear and inclusive communication. Although each format has its own advantage and challenge, the leaders can adjust their communication style to fit the situation. With open communication, effective time management, and active participation from all members, both types of meetings can achieve the productivity and meaningfully result. So that all for our presentation. Any question, guys? You can give the direction with raise hand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this group 6 for the presentation. It is quite attractive to hear and to listen. And for the audience, please to ask your question regarding to this topic so we can start our discussion session.
Okay, guys, does anyone have questions? We're open for Q&A. You guys can Saskia.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask, if meetings are often unproductive, what leadership action should be taken to fix that problem? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for asking. Next is Savana Kauri.
Okay, I want to ask, in your conclusion slide, it said that leadership plays a big role in a meeting success. Can you give me an example of how leadership can change the result of a meeting? Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Next is Anida.
Okay, thank you so much, Sheila, for the opportunity. Sometimes meetings go really well, but other time they don't work out because of how people work together than or how the leaders. Sorry. So you know, meetings can either be really productive or just a waste of time, depending on how the team works together and how the leaders handles things, right? So, in your guys' opinion, what's more important for a successful meeting? A good leadership or a good teamwork for a successful meeting? Thank you. Is that clear, Kayla?
Yeah, clear. Thank you for asking. So next, Binanga.
Which type of meetings do you prefer for educational purposes?
That's enough.
No, can I be the last audience to ask? If you're not, if you're okay with that. Okay. Okay, I will be the last audience to ask. My question is, we know that before we talk about face-to-face meeting or like virtual meeting, we have to talk about leadership before, because we know leadership is the ability from someone to guide, inspire, or even support the person who in charge on their team. So based on the experience, we also know that every leader has their own style to guide the people who in charge in his team, right? And my question is, please mention one by one how many typical leaders that you know. You can guys mention that how many leadership typically you can involve. Do you understand my point? Okay, before we talk about face-to-face meeting, before we talk about virtual meeting, in this area, we know that Gen Z is dominant to digitalization lifestyle. We have to know that leadership definition itself and how many typical leadership that involve in our lives. Okay, is that clear? Okay, how many times that you need to answer for all the questions?
Maybe 7 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss.
So guys, we have to wait until they are find their final answer. But I have some question to you all. Yeah. How many variation styles of leadership that you guys already experience and know? Every person has their own answer. Please mention. After this group finish their presentation, please mention your own answer. Paham ya teman-teman ya? Pertanyaan saya adalah, ini akan dibahas nanti ketika grup ini selesai. Pertanyaan saya untuk semuanya adalah, ya, berapa jenis variasi atau style dari leadership yang sudah kalian temukan? Nanti ini akan berkorelasi dengan jawaban sebelumnya dari pertanyaan saya. Jadi, coba deskripsikan berapa jenis variasi style dari leadership yang kalian tahu dan yang sudah kalian rasakan selama kalian baik dari kuliah ataupun dari sekolah, dari zaman sekolah atau dari social life-nya kalian. Ini based on your own experience. Boleh pakai kata-kata sendiri, mix dengan bahasa Indonesia juga boleh. But try to use English. Oke? Okay? Silakan Arkan. Dijawab, jangan garuk-garuk. Nanti saya juga jadi ikutan gitu ya. Teman-teman yang lain, monggo dicari jawabannya. Sembari kita juga menunggu nih teman-teman jawaban dari grup number 6 nih. Jadi ini jawabannya personal. Setiap orang punya jawabannya masing-masing. Oke, ada yang tidak hadir hari ini? Andi sudah bergabung kah? Belum? Nakata, gimana Nakata? Ada yang tidak hadir hari ini?
Sejauh ini sih masih belum ada yang izin ke saya dan dari Siti Andi Rasyanya juga belum ada konfirmasi untuk yang tidak hadirnya, Miss.
Oke, baik. Sudah sampai kah waktunya? Okay. Can I start? Oke, bisa kita mulai untuk grup 6? Sudah bisa?
Okay, I want answer the question from Binanga. The question is, which type of meeting do you prefer for educational purpose, in our opinion, we prefer face-to-face meetings because direct interaction allows for nonverbal communication, such as facial expression and body language, which helps build a deeper understanding between participant and teacher. In addition, a face-to-face learning environment is more conducive to concentration, active participation, and effective teamwork in discussion. Is that answer enough, Binanga?
Yes, thank you.
No more interruption, Binang. Really quiet enough. Okay. Go on, Lydia, next.
Okay, I want to answer the question from Savannah Kauri. Before I answer, I want to repeat the question from Savannah Kauri. So the question is, in your conclusion slide, it said that leadership plays a big role in meeting success. Can you give an example of how leadership can change the result of a meeting? Okay, so my answer is, in our opinion, leadership can change the outcome of a meeting by guiding both the direction and the atmosphere of the discussion. For example, a leader who clearly communicates the meeting's objectives, encourage everyone to contribute, and keeps the discussion focused will usually make the meeting more productive and result in concrete decision. On the other hand, if a leader is unclear or struggles to manage time and priorities, the meetings can go off track, ideas may not be fully expressed, and important decision could be delayed. So leadership is not just about leading, it's about ensuring that every meeting produces clear and effective result. Okay, so is it enough, Savannah Kauri?
That's enough. Thank you, Naila.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will answer Saskia question. Saskia asks, meeting are often unproductive. What should leaders do? Productive. What should leaders do to fix the problems? If meetings are often unproductive, leaders should
No.
take.
Please. No unproductive, but unproductive. Saya juga tadi mendengar beberapa pelafalannya yang nggak benar. Yang saya ingat itu adalah kata politely. Bukan politely, tapi politely. Bukan writing, tapi writing. Oke, silakan dilanjutkan, Zara.
Okay, leaders should take the following action. The first, set a clear objective, define the meeting purpose and desired outcomes before it begins. The second, prepare and share the agenda in advance. Distribute topics and time slot ahead of time so participants can arrive ready. The third, invite only necessary participants. Include only those who are directly involved or impact to keep.
Involved, not involved, but involved. Jadi di akhirnya itu agak tebal. Di akhirnya itu agak tebal karena dia berbarengan dengan ed. Okay, Zarani.
Or impact to keep the meeting focused. The four, manage time and maintain focus. Start and finish on time. Allocate a respective time for each topic and steer conversation back on track. The last, assign follow-up action items at the meetings and clarify who will do one and by when. Tax, responsibility, and deadlines. Okay, that's all for me. It is answers, Saskia.
Yes, that's clear enough. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Zahrani.
Okay, thank you juga.
Oke, semangat ya Zarani.
Iya, Miss, terima kasih.
More good, ya. Oke, lanjut, next.
So I want to answer a question for Anida. I want to repeat the question. In your view, or in our view, what is more important for a successful meeting, good leadership or good teamwork? So the answer is both leadership or teamwork are essential. But good leadership is likely more important for a successful meeting. A strong leader can set clear objectives, manage time efficiently, and encourage equal participation among team members. Without effective leadership, even a skilled team may lose direction or fail to reach conclusion. However, leadership should not be authoritarian. It should foster collaboration and guide the team toward a common goal. So it is enough, Anida.
Okay, that's enough, Gila. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oke. Pertanyaan dari siapa sebelum pertanyaan ke saya? Dari saya, maaf. Yang terakhir, sebelum saya punya pertanyaan.
Sudah, Miss. Tadi pertanyaannya cuma 4 yang dari teman-teman dan 1 lagi dari Miss-nya. Miss mau izin make sure pertanyaan Miss-nya tadi. Please mention one by one how many typical leaders that you know. You can mention how many leadership typically you can involve.
Ya, betul. Karena tadi di awal kan belum ada ke situ ya. Saya cuman lebih melihat bahwa penggambaran deskripsi secara lebih umum bahwa leadership itu apa. Tapi untuk kesesuaian gaya-gaya leadership per orang itu kan belum ada ya. Maka saya lihat celahnya di situ, maka saya buat pertanyaan ke situ supaya yang lain juga bisa paham bahwa sebenarnya bukan hanya leadership dari sisi makna, tapi ada tipikalnya, begitu.
Kami izin jawab pakai bahasa Indonesia ya, Miss.
Boleh lah, saya pengen dengar.
Oke, Miss, aku mau jawab. Ini kayak ke arah yang udah pernah aku alamin. Kan dulu aku SMA tuh kayak ikut organisasi di bidang tari tradisional ya. Nah, itu aku masuk ke divisi kostum.
Maaf, Zahrani berarti penari?
Bisa ya bisa Miss, tapi nggak penari itu. Ya, jadi aku dulu bagian tari tradisional di SMA, dan aku tuh masuk divisi kostum. Dulu tuh kayak kostum kalau misalkan ada event-event di sekolah, itu kayak aku sama 2 teman aku. Jadi aku tuh yang kayak apa ya? Apa sih cadangannya buat divisi kostum ini. Kalau misalkan ada event-event tuh kita kayak gimana nih supaya bagus gitu loh look kita di panggung gitu. Jadi kita juga kayak diskusi nih sama teman aku yang ketua divisinya ini. Kita diskusi, ya nih kayak gimana cara iniannya. Terus juga kalau misalkan dari ketua tradisional yang benar-benar ketuanya itu mungkin lebih kayak ke demokrasi ya, Miss ya. Dimana nih dia tuh sebelum memutuskan hal yang dia mau, dia kayak komunikasiin dulu sama anggota-anggota divisi lainnya gitu. Jadi kayak gimana jalan keluarnya, gimana iniannya, kayak diskusi. Kayak misalkan aku nih ditanya gini, gimana udah dapat belum kostumnya gitu, gimana buat tarian ini udah dapat belum, kalau misalkan belum, ayo kita rame-rame kita bantu cari kayak gitu. Kayak lebih kayak ke demokrasi aja, Miss gitu. Terima
Oke,
kasih.
berarti itu dari sisi variasi style ya,
Ya.
bukan leadership tipikalnya. Nah,
Oh,
kalau dari sisi beda. Makanya saya tadi pertanyaan dua. Ada leadership typical, ada variasi style. Jadi based on experience atau based on personality, masing-masing ini punya beda. Typical dan style. Style itu gaya menyampaikan. Kalau typical beda lagi jenisnya, jenis cara memimpinnya. Kalau yang kamu katakan tadi itu adalah style leadership-nya, yaitu demokrasi. Karena sebenarnya stylenya itu ada 5, tipikalnya itu ada 6. Nah, itu yang belum disampaikan tadi di di apa namanya, di PPT-nya. Apa aja yang 6 itu dan apa saja yang 5 itu. Itu yang pertama. Catatan yang kedua untuk Zahrani dan teman-teman, boleh ya, ini saya cari catatan untuk could be better in the future gitu ya. Oke? Yang pertama, teman-teman, mungkin di era teman-teman sebagai Gen Z saat ini gitu ya, ada perbedaan antara saya yang berasal dari yang bukan Gen Z. Dari sisi mana? Dari penggunaan kata diksi antara saya dan aku. Pemaknaannya dari kita masing-masing, POV-nya beda-beda. Kalau mungkin di teman-teman, ini saya bukan menyalahkan, saya hanya memberikan pertimbangan untuk teman-teman sebagai calon orang dewasa, gitu ya, untuk melihat bagaimana variasi POV dari cara komunikasi ini juga akan mempengaruhi. Yang pertama, teman-teman, karena saya bukan Gen Z, untuk di Gen Z mungkin kata aku ini sudah intim dan sopan. Karena menghilangkan sisi keegoan, ya kan? Arogansi. Sehingga terdengar lebih sopan untuk Gen Z, maaf. Tapi teman-teman, untuk yang bukan Gen Z, karena masih ada diksi yang lebih dari kata aku, maka akan lebih terdengar lebih polite lagi kalau menggunakan kata saya. Means saya bukan merasa tersinggung, saya hanya merasa perlu memberikan pemahaman dari beberapa POV yang berbeda dengan gaya komunikasi dan style dari sisi pemilihan kata. Paham? Jadi ini nanti modal untuk teman-teman untuk mempertimbangkan dari sisi kepada siapa dan dengan siapa teman-teman untuk berkomunikasi. Kalau mungkin dari saya, mungkin kaliannya melihatnya saya ini masih seperti Gen Z gitu ya. Alhamdulillah saya anggap pujian gitu ya. But sometimes untuk orang yang berbeda, jangan gunakan seperti itu. Oke? Dimengerti ya. Jadi ada banyak variasi yang bisa kalian gunakan dan jangan menutup keluasan dari penggunaan kosakata tersebut. Seperti itu maksudnya. Bukan tidak baik gitu ya, tapi ada yang pertimbangan-pertimbangan. Kita lihat siapa teman kita komunikasi gitu. Itu harus dipertimbangkan as a good communicator. Paham? Sip. Lanjut kalau begitu, itu dari Zahrani, dari contoh kasus Zahrani. Kita bicara mengenai leadership. Itu dari sisi variation of style-nya tadi. Nah, gimana kalau dari sisi leadership tipikalnya? Masuk ke tipikal apakah ini? Saya sebutkan yang pertama dari vision, itu masuk ke tipikal mana? Vision itu adalah salah satu tipikal dari leadership. Yang kedua, inspiration. Cara dia menginspirasi. Yang ketiga adalah decision maker. Bagaimana cara dia membuat keputusan. Oke. Yang keempat adalah accountability atau akuntabilitas. Yang kelima, communication. Dan yang keenam adalah empowerment. Tadi contoh yang diberikan Zahra adalah sebelum dia membuat keputusan, gitu kan ya, dia balikkan dulu. Jadi nggak serta-merta dia sebagai leader, dia membuat keputusan. Karena dia menganggap bahwa tonggaknya adalah dia. Yang paling besar payungnya adalah dia. Kan begitu ya. So, itu dari sisi variation style-nya. Kalau menurut kalian dari leadership tipikalnya masuk yang kemana dari yang 6 tadi? Ada vision, inspiration, decision maker, accountability, communication, dan empowerment. tipikal yang manakah dia? Vision itu dia menyampaikan ininya dulu, pandangan, gitu kan. Lalu inspirasi, dia menyampaikan beberapa hal yang membuat kalian terinspirasi lalu membuat keputusan. Misalnya seperti itu caranya. Dia yang menginspirasi dulu gitu ya. Jadi dari cara menginspirasi lalu mengajak beberapa orang untuk mengikuti gayanya, gitu kan ya. Lalu yang decision maker, ada beberapa jenis gitu ya, decision maker tunggal atau lebih ke arah demokratis style tadi, gitu kan. Lalu akuntabilitas dengan cara berkomunikasi dan juga empowerment, gitu. Kira-kira yang mana teman-teman? Kalau dari variation of style tadi demokratis, tapi kalau leadership tipikal, kira-kira yang mana? Dari contoh yang disebutkan Zahrani. Communication atau decision maker, saya persempit ya pilihannya ya. Oke. Decision maker, communication, atau empowerment. Tadi dia lempar dulu, dia tanyakan, gitu kan ya, lalu didiskusikan, lalu bagaimana. Nah, kira-kira mana yang condong ke mana di?
Communication bukan, Miss?
Iya, betul. Dia communication. Dia kasih kita ruang untuk berdiskusi, mengkomunikasikan, lalu dirembukkan, gitu kan. POV dikumpulkan, lalu dengan kesadaran bersama kita pahami situasi, risk-nya seperti apa, maka diambillah keputusan. Masuk ke tipe mana? Communication. Dipahami teman-teman mengenai ini? Style dan tipikal itu beda. Oke? Oke, itu tadi dari Zahrani. Ada lagi kira-kira yang mau menyampaikan ininya, pendapatnya? Kamu gimana, Binanga? Kira-kira ada experience tersendiri tidak?
Aku nggak ada, saya nggak ada experience sendiri sih.
Oke. Udah. Yang lain kira-kira bagaimana teman-teman selama kalian berorganisasi?
Saya ada, Miss, tapi decision maker. Tapi saya izin explaining with bahasa. It's
nggak
okay?
apa-apa. Sudah oke sih.
Ya,
It's
jadi
okay, nggak apa-apa.
jadi dulu itu saya sebagai bukan wakil, sekretaris kelas. Nah, saya ada ketua kelas sama wakil ketua kelas. Nah, mereka berdua ini cara kepemimpinannya itu beda dalam kelompok ataupun cara mengatur kelas. Nah, jadi untuk ketua kelasnya sendiri, itu menurut saya saat itu dia lebih ke decision maker mungkin karena dulu anak kelas di kelas saya itu kebanyakan pasif anak-anaknya. Jadi mungkin karena butuh jadi misal ada guru yang minta tolong ke ketua kelasnya ini dan dia tuh butuh jawabannya cepat karena teman-teman nggak ada yang ngejawab saat diminta opini, akhirnya dia yang memutuskan. Kalau misalnya ya udah deh begini aja. Cuma kadang nggak enaknya itu misal dia mulai selfish. Saya sebagai sekretaris dan teman saya yang wakil jadi kesusahan ini ngasih tahunya gimana biar dia mau berunding lagi sama anak-anak kelas karena setelah keputusannya diambil ternyata banyak juga anak-anak kelas yang tidak setuju. Nah, sedangkan untuk si wakil ketua kelas ini dia itu waktu itu posisinya itu anak ranking 1 di kelas berturut-turut. Jadi anak kelas banyak yang menjadikan dia sebagai inspiration. Dan karena si wakil ketua kelas ini dia merupakan inspirasi dari anak-anak kelas lebih mempercayakan segala suatu keputusan yang dia ambil. Jadi misal si ketuanya ini ngomong A, si wakil yang ngomong B, anak-anak lebih percaya sama yang ngomong B, sama si inspiration ini daripada si decision maker. Terima kasih, Miss. Mungkin itu pengalaman yang bisa saya bagikan.
Nah, iya benar. Itu benar. Karena terkadang teman-teman decision maker itu lebih ke self-center karena mereka tidak mau ribet dan lebih sederhana orangnya. Kalau inspiration dia lebih stylenya itu lebih ke arah bagaimana ini supaya terlihat demokratis. Gitu. Jadi dia kasih ini, lalu dia mengambil keputusan berdasarkan hal yang terbaik untuk kalangan terbanyak. Bukan berarti decision maker itu juga tidak baik ya, ada baiknya juga karena dia lebih taktis orangnya gitu ya, lebih simple dan lebih sederhana. Kira-kira seperti itu ya bentuknya. Oke, the last one sebelum kita tutup untuk group 6. Ada lagi? No? Okay. Please, the conclusion and closing statement from group 6.
So for our closing statement, for our discussion on material presentation on leadership and best practice for maximizing productivity in virtual or face-to-face meetings, we can see that true leadership is just not about holding a position, but it's about guiding, listening, and building productive collaboration, whether online or in person. So, we hope this material can help us all become more adaptive, communicative leaders who can guide our teams toward the best results. Thank you, Miss Sheila and everyone for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give applause with the group 6 and all the audience that joining this discussion session. Okay. Next, for the second group, please prepare your tools and all the equipment that needed to present your topic today. Negotiation strategies for win-win outcomes in business.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Miss Sheila and all of my friends. We are from Group 7 today. Our group will present about negotiation strategies for win-win outcomes in business. Before we start, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Mutia Ramadhani.
My name is Kinesha Navakans. My name is Kanita Dwi Zahrafi. And my name is Lauza Azalia.
Okay, in this session, we will talk about how negotiation works in business and how both sides can get good result, or what we call a win-win outcome. All right, without further delay, let's start our presentation. First, what is definition of business negotiation? Business negotiation is basically the process of discussing the terms of a business deal. It can involve 2 or more parties, depending on what the deal is about and who's involved. So, in short, it's all about reaching an agreement that works for everyone in business. Next slide, please. Why is it important? First, to reach mutually beneficial agreements. This means both sides get value from the deal. When we negotiate well, everyone feels satisfied. No one feels cheated. It helps maintain a positive and fair business relationship. Second, to increase profits and reduce costs through better deals, pricing, or contract terms. Good negotiation can help a business earn more profit or save money. For example, by getting better prices or better contract terms that benefit both sides. Third, to build strong partnership. Negotiation builds trust between parties. When both sides communicate openly and find fair solution, it creates long-term business relationships that are good for future collaboration. Fourth, resolve conflict effectively. In business, disagreements are normal, but through negotiation, we can solve problems in a professional and calm way without damaging the relationship. And the last one is to improve decision making and communication skills. Negotiation helps us to think strategically and communicate clearly. It makes us more confident when dealing with others and better at making the right business decisions. So what is win-win really mean? Win-win situation is a resolution to a negotiation where both parties benefit from the outcome. In a negotiation, such as one regarding payment for service rendered, this can mean that the person receiving payment is happy with the amount, while the one who pays feels that amount matches the service they receive. The difference between win-win, win-lose, and compromise. First, win-win. This happens when both sides get something good. They work together, listen to each other, and find a solution that meets both needs. For example, a clothing store and its supplier agree on a lower price and a long-term partnership. At the end, both sides win. Second, win-lose. This is when only one side feels happy. It's more like a competition. One wins, the other one loses. For instance, a cafe has to pay high rent because the landlord refused to lower the price. The landlord wins, but the cafe loses. The last one is compromise. In a compromise, both sides give up something to reach the middle point. For example, a company wants a project done in 5 days, but the designer needs 10 days. They agree on 7 days. It's fair even though no one gets exactly what they want.
Now I will explain the key principles of win-win negotiation. So, in a win-win negotiation, there are three main principles we focus on. The first principle is mutual benefit. In a win-win negotiation, the goal is to find outcomes that make both sides satisfied. Instead of competing, both parties work together to create shared value and cooperation. This makes the result fair and balanced for everyone. Next is trust and respect. Open and honest communication only happens when both sides trust each other. When people feel respected, it's easier to speak freely, share ideas, and reach better results together. And lastly, long-term relationship. A good negotiation is not just about one deal. It's about building a strong relationship that can lead to future collaboration and success. Thinking long-term helps both sides grow and continue working together.
Okay, we move to the preparation strategic. The first is gathering information. Of course, before we make or we build some relationship, even though it's business or B2B, business to business, we should collect the data and the facts about opposing party. It's about maybe business background, their negotiation goals, and to understand their needs and possible agreement. And after that, we move to the understanding the opponent's profile and character. We should learn the other party's communication style, like interests and values tailor your negotiation approach more effectively. And then, after we learn about the opponent's profile and character, we move to the selecting the negotiation team. Choose the team members who understand the issues and have a strong communication skills. And actually, based on my experience, the most important is also can apply persuasive techniques effectively. And last is building confidence and action plan. Prepare a positive mindset and organize logical argument. Don't forget to design alternative solution to be ready for any situation during the negotiation. Next.
Communication skills in negotiation. First, active listening. Understand, emphasize, and clarify others' point. Active listening means really paying attention to what the other person says. We try to understand their needs, show empathy, and ask questions if something isn't clear. This helps avoid misunderstanding and build trust. Second, clear and concise communication. In negotiation, we should speak clearly and directly. Use simple words, go straight to the point, and avoid confusing language. The clearer we speak, the easier it is for both sides to reach an agreement. Third, nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is about our body language, like eye contact, facial expression, and gestures. A confident posture and friendly expression can show honesty and professionalism, which make others trust us more. Fourth, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence means controlling our feeling during negotiation. We stay calm even when things get tense and try to understand others' emotions too. This helps us respond wisely instead of emotionally. Fifth, effective questioning. This means asking the right question help us get clear information and understand the other side needs. It also shows that we care about finding the best solution for both parties. And the last one is flexibility and adaptability. In negotiation, things don't always go as planned. That's why we must be flexible and open to new ideas. Being adaptable help us find creative solutions that satisfy both sides.
Okay, so there are common challenges that most likely happen during a negotiation. First is delay tactics. So, delay tactics occur when someone, often a senior person, intentionally postpones a meeting to assert authority and create pressure. The goal is to make the other party feel stressed, impatient, or less confident, hoping they will agree quickly or lose control in the negotiation. Second is aggressive behavior. So, this happens when someone uses rude words, sarcasm, or threats to get what they want. It might make the other person scared or uncomfortable, and it can ruin trust and good relationships. Third is letting positions override interests. So this situation happens when people focus too much on their own opinions or demands instead of understanding what both sides really need. As a result, they miss chances to find creative ideas or win-win solutions that could benefit everyone. The last one is neglecting the other side's problem. So this happens when one side ignores what the other party cares about. Without understanding their needs or reasons, it's hard to reach a fair agreement. Good negotiators listen with empathy and try to see things from the other person's point of view.
Next is problem solving technique. In negotiation, problems will always appear, but how we solve them makes the difference. The first point is to focus on interest, not position. Instead of only asking what each side wants, we should understand why they want it. When we know the reason behind their needs, we can find better and more meaningful solutions. Next, create several options for mutual gain. Don't stop at just one idea. By brainstorming different possibilities, we can find solutions that benefit both parties. This also makes the negotiation more flexible and creative. Finally, use collaborative decision making. Both sides should work together in choosing the final solution. When people feel involved in the decision, they're more likely to trust and support the agreement in the end. Next. And the next is conflict management. In negotiation, conflict is something natural. It happens, but the key is managing it in the right way. The first step is to handle disagreement positively. When conflict comes, focus on finding solutions, not on blaming each other. This helps the conversation stay productive and calm. Next, stay calm and control emotions. Emotions can make us say things we don't mean. By staying composed, we keep clarity, respect, and professionalism, which help find better solutions. Then listen and understand both sides. Good conflict management always starts with listening. When we try to understand the other person's point of view, we build empathy and fairness. And the last one is to turn conflict into opportunity. If we manage it well, conflict can lead to new ideas, better ways to work together, and even stronger relationships in the future.
Okay, next move to the case study. We got JNA and Shopee. Next. The collaboration between JNA and Shopee began around 2016 when Shopee expanded its logistics system in Indonesia. JNA, established in 1990, became a strategic partner supporting Shopee delivery operation. Through the partnerships, like Mutia said, when win-win outcomes is when they both get benefit and work together. So JNA gained higher shipment volumes while Shopee grew while Shopee benefited from fast and reliable logistics service. This partnership represents a win-win solution strategy as both companies gain mutual benefits and strengthen their position within Indonesia's digital business ecosystem. Next.
Okay, next up is conclusion and key takeaways. So, in business, win-win negotiation strategies emphasize collaboration over competition. By focusing on understanding, respect, and problem solving, both parties can achieve outcomes that satisfy their interests while strengthening future partnerships. Effective negotiators create value through empathy, trust, and open communication, ensuring long-term success for all involved. And there are at least 5 key takeaways we can learn from our material today. First, focus on mutual goals and shared benefits to achieve a win-win outcome. Second, understand both parties' interests to create balanced solution. Third is communicate openly and build trust throughout the negotiation process. Fourth is stay flexible and adaptable when finding common ground. And the last one is maintain professionalism to support long-term business relationships.
Okay, we move to discussion session. If you have any question, you can raise hand first. Thank you. Okay, for Ivan, boleh tanya.
Okay, I will ask. The question is, can a win-win solution still be achieved when the one party is more dominant the negotiation? Thank you.
Saskia, boleh di.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask, how can you tell if the other party on alone? Thank you.
Naila?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity from Group 7. So among all the communication skills that you guys explained, which do you think is the most difficult to master in real life negotiation, and how can it be developed over time? Thank you.
Okay, the last one, Anida.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Mutia. So I really like the idea of a win-win negotiation, but in real life, it might not be that easy. So, do you guys think it's really possible to always get a win-win solution, win-win outcomes in business negotiation, or are there times when one side just has to give up a bit more to make it work? Thank you.
For Miss Sheila, can I get 5 minutes for discuss? Thank you, Miss.
Okay, I will answer Ivan's question. The question is, can a win-win solution still be achieved when one party dominates the negotiation? The answer is yes. A win-win solution can still happen even if one side is stronger. What matters is how both sides communicate. The weaker side can still speak up, explain their needs clearly, and suggest ideas that can help both. So it's not only about power, it's about respect and good teamwork. If both sides stay open and try to understand each other, they can still find a fair solution. Is that clear enough, Ivan?
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Okay, now I want to give the answer for Saskia's question, but before that, Miss izin bilingual pakai bahasa Indonesia Inggris ya, Miss. Okay, Saskia's question is, how can you tell if the other party actually aims to win alone? Kayak gimana caranya kamu tuh tahu kalau misalnya pasangan apa lawan bisnis kamu ini maunya tuh menang sendiri. Kayak we can see from the act like apa ya, gimana bilang ya, kayak first they're not transparent, jadi mereka tuh hide atau menyembunyikan informasi penting. Terus yang kedua juga dominate the negotiation, tapi sebenarnya dominate negotiation ini balik lagi ke pihak kitanya, apakah kita masih mau lanjut atau enggak. Terus yang ketiga itu refuse to compromise, kalau misalnya ada jalan tengah yang kita siapin, dia nggak setuju gitu. Terus yang keempat, their words in the meetings is that their words in the meeting don't match with the documents yang udah kita punya. Terus itu tuh showing kalau misalnya mereka tuh maunya tuh maunya tuh kayak bagus sendiri gitu. Is that enough? Well, actually this is based on my experience karena saya pernah ada di posisi untuk minta win-win solution. Is that enough, Saskia?
Okay, yes, thank you. Your answer really helped, Kanita.
Saya boleh tanggapin, mumpung masih anget. Boleh ya?
Boleh.
Oke. Ya. Terkadang memang kita akan berhadapan dengan karakteristik dari communicator yang dominan atau yang self-center gitu kan ya, atau seperti yang tadi yang keep the most, pokoknya keep the last dancing buat dia sendiri gitu ya. Kan ada istilah begitu ya. Keep the last dance for me gitu kan. Ada ya. Yang mana kadang sebenarnya ini balik lagi ke personality masing-masing. Apakah memang ketika kita berkomunikasi dengan orang lain, gitu ya, perlu transparansi tanpa batas atau tidak? Alasannya pasti ada masing-masing. Yang kedua adalah kita tidak bisa membatasi atau menutupi bahwa kita akan bertemu dengan orang yang self-centered. Dan ini terkadang bisa juga menuju ke arah dominan. What will you do if ketika kita ketemu dengan orang yang seperti ini? Yang pertama adalah tadi ketika kita ketemu dengan orang yang ini orang memang benar bahwa dia keep the last dance itu cuma buat dia sendiri untuk kepentingan pribadi, gitu kan ya? Lebih ke arah self-center, gitu kan? Tapi apakah menurut kalian itu salah? Jawabannya pasti ada yang bilang salah, ada yang bilang tidak. Karena tergantung apa? Tergantung kebutuhan dan situasi masing-masing yang dihadapi. Tapi based on kebiasaan teman-teman, yang ingin saya tanyakan adalah apakah memang setiap situasi kita harus transparansi tanpa batas? Menurut Konita sendiri, Konita tadi kan based on Konita experience gitu kan ya. Menurut Konita sendiri, apakah itu salah atau benar? Kalau memang salah dari sisi seperti apa? Kalau memang benar dari sisi seperti apa? Karena ini pandangan, maka tidak ada yang salah dan tidak ada yang benar. Tergantung situasi yang mendorong kita harus bersikap seperti apa. Ibarat air yang dituang ke wadah. Masing-masing wadah bentuknya beda-beda. Ada yang berani jawab pandangan sendiri?
Saya mau coba, Miss.
Silakan.
Pakai background ya. Kenapa saya bisa ada di posisi ini? Boleh nggak?
Silakan.
Kayak jadi kan saya itu kru di wedding organizer, yang dimana saya
Oke.
diajak untuk negosiasi sama satu venue. Nah, kan sebelum negosiasi, tim dari saya itu udah ini dong, udah apa, collecting data gitu. Plus minusnya, kami juga nyarinya tuh bukan cuma dari website atau dari review orang-orang gitu. Karena kan kalau dari website dong, kelihatannya yang baik-baik ya kan. Kalau dari review kan ya gini-gini gini. Jadi otomatis kayak saya ngerasa udah punya kartu asnya gitu. Cuma pas kan nah tim kami tuh ngeluarin semuanya baik buruk tentang eh, apa tentang vendor kami, kayak kami gini-gini loh, kami tuh ada plus di sini dan ada minus di sini. Tapi si marketingnya ini itu benar-benar cuma cerita tentang baiknya aja gitu. Padahal kami tuh tahu begini-begininya juga. Jadi kayak saya ngerasa kok gitu.
Subjektif
Tuh.
ya, tidak objektif maksudnya.
Ya.
Ya, terus kaitannya tadi ke itu pertanyaan saya, apakah memang transparansi itu harus tanpa batas? Mhm. Ini personal statement loh ya. Apakah memang transparansi itu harus tanpa batas? Dalam bidang business negotiation ya, bukan dalam bidang ke pribadi sendiri gitu ya, ke sahabat, ke teman, social life, bukan yang seperti itu. Yang saya maksud adalah in business negotiation. Karena juga kita bergerak dari pengalaman Konita yang merupakan apa namanya tim dari sebuah IO atau WO tadi ya, kalau saya tidak salah. Gimana? Apakah itu salah menurut kamu sebagai seorang businessman atau businesswoman ketika dia hanya menjual yang baik-baiknya saja? Sama seperti tadi dominant person gitu kan ya yang kalian hadapi, apakah merupakan sebuah kewajiban dari masing-masing kalian untuk mengikuti alur atau gitu ya, mengikuti alur ini dalam artian bahwa terbawa gitu ya, gitu kan, terbawa dalam artian bahwa ya, terbawa gitu kan, sesuai dengan skripnya beliau ini, seorang yang dominan ini tadi dalam bisnis negotiation. Maka dalam hal ini perlulah penilaian yang objektif. Dari sisi Konita sendiri tadi adalah langkah antisipasinya adalah dengan melakukan tinjau lapangan. Kita tidak salahkan gitu ya. Karena setiap kita punya kepentingan dari sisi bisnis. Everything in business itu halal katanya. Tapi bisa dilihat memang benar, kan begitu ya? Ini kan teman-teman ya? Apa yang dilakukan oleh venue ini tadi yang menunjukkan bahwa, dan ini bukan cuma satu contoh, dia hanya salah satu saja dari yang ada, gitu kan, kasus case yang ada, bahwa banyak orang melakukan hal ini. Gitu. Dan kita tidak bisa menyalahkan 100%, karena itu merupakan sebuah upaya. Yang perlu kita lakukan adalah hanya lebih objektif. Sama seperti tadi menghadapi komunikator yang dominan. Tidak perlu melawan, tapi hanya perlu lebih objektif. Paham maksudnya? Jadi kita tidak menyalahkan, hanya saja bagaimana itu bergantung dari receiver. Anda sebagai receiver baik dalam situasi apapun. In case entah itu dari business negotiation, atau discussion, atau debate sekalipun. Paham? Oke, Konita, seperti itu. Iya.
Oke, Miss, thank you.
Iya, itu dari saya ya masukannya kira-kira. Ada lagi? Udah tadi tanggapan yang terakhir kah? Untuk kelompok 2?
Masih ada Miss, sebentar.
Nah,
Okay, I will answer Naila Zulfa questions. Among all the communication skills that you guys explained, which do you think is the most difficult to master in real-life negotiation, and how can it be developed over time? So my answer is, in my opinion, the most difficult skill to master in real-life negotiation is emotional intelligence, because in a negotiation, emotion can easily take over. For example, when we feel nervous, angry, or pressure to get what we want, it's not always easy to stay calm and control how we react. To develop it, we need to practice self-awareness, like noticing how we feel in certain situations and why. We also have to learn empathy, trying to understand the other person's perspective, and over time, by reflecting on past negotiation and staying open to feedback, we can slowly improve our emotional control and communication. Is that enough for answer your question, Naila?
Okay, it's enough. Thank you, Mutia.
You're welcome.
Okay, next I will answer Nida's question. So, do you guys think achieving a win-win solution is always realistic in business negotiations, or are there situations where one side must give up more? So, I think achieving a win-win solution is ideal, but not always possible in every business negotiation. Sometimes, one side needs to give up some ideas to reach an agreement. However, that doesn't always mean losing, as long as both parties gain something valuable and maintain a good relationship. It can still be considered a win-win outcome. Is that enough, Nida?
Enough. Thank you, Ganesha.
Ada lagi?
Okay, that's all from our group presentation today. Thank you so much for listening until the end. We hope our presentation about negotiation strategies for win-win outcomes in business was useful and easy to understand. Once again, thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Mutia, and for all the member for this group, it was quite attractive. And please, people, give applause for this group. They are awesome. Iya. Oke, baik. Terima kasih teman-teman ya. Teman-teman ini sudah selesai 2 grup untuk hari ini. Jadi teman-teman, saya punya tambahan tugas ya. Tapi mungkin nanti saya akan jelaskan ke Nakata ya tadi ya. Nakata sebagai perwakilan dan juga Andi. Nanti saya akan ke kamu di Zoom ini aja kira-kira ya Nakata ya. Nanti kamu ini ke teman-teman yang lain. Boleh teman-teman? Kira-kira itu aja. Ada tanggapan